Hello, gorgeous, gorgeous, powerful women. Welcome to another episode of the Powerful Inc. Startup Stories podcast. Today, we're speaking with Shelley Bosworth, who has left a long and robust and what we would, define or describe as a successful career in event planning and food and beverage and, beautiful settings all over the UK. She had a gorgeous, big responsibility, fancy, air quotes, fancy job, and was doing all of the things. And her origin story is, not unfamiliar to mine and likely some of yours, of what I like to call following the book of life. Right? Go to school, get a job.
Yeah, that was me.
And our parents, God love them, but where's the soul? Where's the fire in all of that? And for those of us who are here, because we have that fire in us, we need to awaken the soul at some point. And that either happens because we can start to tap into it, or life brings forth things that help us see it. And that's what happened in Shelley's case, is that as she was trucking along, she had some life events that all of a sudden went ping, and she sort of started looking, the other way into this other deeper part of herself, and that's led her to where she is. So I'll let her take it away from here. Welcome to the show, Shelley. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It is absolutely brilliant to be here. I love, oh gosh, well, you just talked about that, just trucking along. I love that term, awaken the soul, Mia, I really do. I was that person. I was, just trucking along, doing exactly what I had been taught, work hard at school, get out there, get a good job, climb that ladder. And I had the list. I had all the things. I wanted the house, I wanted the car, I wanted the shoes, I wanted the handbag, all the stuff I didn't really have growing up, I'll be honest. It wasn't a terrible upbringing, but it was, fairly standard. So I went out with this big list of material things. I'll show you all. I'm going to earn all the cash and I'm going to have all the things. And then life threw some curveballs in, and I just started questioning everything. So shall I give a bit of context to that part of the story?
Yeah.
So as you perfectly described, probably made my corporate career sound slightly better than it was. So I worked for although I did have some really great highlights in there. I had a 25-year corporate career before starting this world. As I said, just kind of climbed that ladder, worked really hard, did what I believed to be, the usual route. I didn't know people that ran their own businesses. We didn't know people in my family that ran their own businesses. So it was very, very standard. That was the life that I knew, watched all around me.
And isolated even then, because you didn't even have that exposure. That's interesting.
No, we just didn't know people that ran their own businesses. Our whole circle, my family circle, was people that went out and worked, and lots of successful people. They were doing well, and so that's exactly what I did. And I did get a good job, and I did work very hard. I got very strong work ethic. I was ambitious. I had, like I say, this metaphorical list of things I wanted to achieve. I was always quite independent. So I made a decision very young. I'm not getting married. I'm not having kids. And off I go. I'm going to climb that ladder. You watch me. And so fast forward, let's say 20 years, and I was quite high up the ladder. I was working in retail, hospitality, operational roles. My last role within that working environment was with a very well-known, I live in the UK, so I was working for a very well-known holiday business, and I ran their food and beverage business. So they're basically their restaurants and their bars. Now, I said I wasn't getting married, but I did meet my partner back in, gosh, I can't, we've been together about 10 years now. So let's say 10 years ago, I met my now husband. And long story short, we are married. We do not have children. We did get married. So we got married, and I was heading for 40 years of age as well. So I had, on paper, actually, I wasn't unhappy. I was really clear about that. I wasn't miserable, but something perhaps felt amiss. I was starting to kind of question what it was all for. I was working very long hours. Yes, we were working for the holidays. We were working for the experience. It just felt like it was in the wrong direction. Anyway, we got married in 2015, and 4 days after our wedding, and it was literally day 4 of our married life, my father-in-law was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. Now, we it wasn't quite the surprise that might sound. We did know something wasn't right. He was going through a series of tests, but the actual diagnosis came 4 days after our wedding. My father-in-law was 63 when he got his diagnosis, which if anybody listening has ever experienced, and Alzheimer's is a horrible thing to watch happen to someone. So that was kind of not the expected outcome, and it meant the next 3 years were very much about family, and my father-in-law deteriorated very quickly, so we watched him kind of disappear before our eyes, and he passed away in June 2018. Now, in that period of time, I turned 40. I had my own little health scare, which was just a scare, but these things were all just kind of accumulating, and I'm watching a man who, actually, I should say, he had run his own business. So whilst I'd grown up in a world of not knowing people that ran their business,
then you met,
getting exposure.
the seed was planted.
Exactly. And so I guess ultimately it just got me asking a lot of questions of life, what it's all for, those things we all say, life is short, life is precious. Now we say these throwaway comments,
say them, but do we live them?
Exactly. And we really were kind of like, God, life is short. He's 65. Gosh, he's heading for 66. There's not long left. And actually he hasn't really reaped the benefits of everything he's worked for.
Right. So
I worked with a coach. And through working with that coach, I got some answers, but what actually came out of that was, I want to do that. And I think I'd be pretty damn good at it, actually. And I remember saying that to my husband, and he said, I think you'd be good at it too. Now, in my corporate work, I absolutely led big teams, as you mentioned. So I had a big team, a direct team of, like 20 people. I was responsible for, hundreds of people across the UK. So people supporting mentorship, coaching, development, that was my thing. It was what made my heart sing. So I decided to explore what do I even need to do to be a coach? Like, how does this even work? How do these people get to do that? And so I explored, and I make it sound a lot easier than it was. It's over a period of time, of course.
While still working, right?
While still working,
absolutely.
Working. So while still traveling around, whilst the UK is a small country, while traveling around the UK, full-time work, and by full-time, I'm not talking about 9 till 5.
No.
We are talking 7 a.m. till 8 o'clock finishes, as if I was lucky. And weaved in this coaching training around the outside of that. And I qualified as a personal performance life coach, quote unquote, in 2019. My father-in-law passed away in 2018, in the summer of 2018. 9 months after my father-in-law passed away, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So my husband lost both his parents in less than 12 months. In fact, in 11 months and 2 weeks, if anyone's interested, which is a lot to go through. And the upshot of that, of course, I could go into the ins and outs of living that year of our lives, but actually the upshot of that was very much do you know what, something's got to change. And by this point I had qualified and was talking about, I wonder if I could actually do this, like more than just at work. Do you think I could ever run my own coaching business? Didn't believe I could at this stage. And obviously my husband was going through his own experience of losing both parents. It was actually him that said, I think if you don't do it now, you'll never do it, because we will go back to normal and we will talk ourselves out of it. And we will, before we know it, be back exactly where we were. And again, I should point out, I did not hate my job. I was not miserable, but there was something there that was just getting stronger and stronger. You talk about awakening the soul. And I think once I got into coaching, and the more I did, the more I wanted to do. And I couldn't fit any more in around the work I did. And the very person I was, I still wanted to give my all to my job. So, and again, I make it sound a lot simpler and slicker than this was. But the upshot was, in September 2019, I resigned from my then role. I'd been with that business nearly 5 years. After a 25-year corporate career, I said I was stepping out and I was starting my own business. And I'd kind of started on the side, but we are talking like tiny side hustle at this point that I was going to go all in on. And so I did. I left in December 2019, ready to go all in on January 2020. Of course, we all know what came in 2020. That was not part of my plan.
It was part of mine.
Oh
no.
Well, I wish you'd shared it with the rest of us. No, actually I don't, because I wouldn't have left. I wouldn't be sitting here now if I'd known. I often say that, actually, if I had known in December 2019 what was coming, I wouldn't be sat here now. I wouldn't be telling the story because I wouldn't have left. And so I will be forever grateful for the fact that we don't actually have crystal balls. And so I launched the business fully in January 2020. The world went into lockdown, obviously, in March 2020. My husband was then made redundant in the summer of 2020. That was a curveball we certainly didn't put in the business plan. And I can't even begin to tell you how many times I wobbled. The amount of calls I had with my old boss, who's an advocate and a great support, like,
trying to get you back.
Absolutely. And it was so tempting to go back to the comfort blanket, if you like. But here I am now. So I'm pleased to say my husband is back in the workplace, and he has been for 18 months. He's actually just secured a fantastic opportunity, which has brought another great move on our roller coaster of life, which we can talk about a bit later. But here I am now, 3 years later, heading into the 4th year of business. Forever grateful that I didn't know a pandemic was around the corner. If I could click my fingers and bring back my in-laws tomorrow, of course I would. But if we had not gone through that, I wouldn't be sitting here now either. So it's been a journey, to coin the phrase. But I am forever grateful that I get to do this. And right now, essentially, what do? So I call myself, I don't really get hung up on titles. I get the sense you don't either. I call myself, because people like to know what it is, a business and mindset coach. Mindset is my thing. So if you'd met me 5 years ago, you'd be like, well, she's never going to be a mindset coach because she's the most cynical and practical and straight talking person you'll ever meet. And that is exactly why I do the thing that I do the way I do. Because I'm not a cynic, not quite as cynical as I used to be. I'm very curious. I like the science behind mindset, and understanding my mindset has been game changing. So my business and my mission has evolved, and I work with predominantly women in business. I do have a few male clients, but I market mainly to women because I'm so passionate about supporting women to get out of their heads, get out of their own way, and do the things they want to do in life and business. And that's what I do. There you go. There was the whistle stop tour of how the heck I got to here. So it's been a roller coaster, to say the least.
It's been and it can be, right? And so what, like, did you just straight up quit? Did you have some savings to rely on? Did you do some pre-planning to transition?
Great question. So yes, I did plan. So once we started talking about it, I probably started really talking about making this happen at the back end of the summer of 2019. So it was kind of a 5-month run-in, if you like. And I knew I was on a 3-month notice period as well. So I kind of had that built there. We absolutely had savings. And I'd already said to my husband, if I could make sure there was this amount of money in the bank, how would you feel about it? Because firstly, I'm quite an independent and I wanted to contribute. Second of all, I'd never want to put that pressure on my husband. And thank God we did that. Okay, there's a lockdown that helped a little bit, but we did not foresee redundancy in the journey. So we absolutely had money in the bank. And somebody had advised me, in fact, somebody had said, I'm sure you've got 6 months mortgage in the bank. I think we probably had about that, but that was something that somebody had said to me. The other thing that I did, and bearing in mind, I've already said, so I was in the corporate world for 25 years. I didn't know people that ran their own businesses, and I didn't grow up in that world, so to speak. I started networking before I left. So actually, I started to get to know people that ran their own businesses before I actually left my corporate role. Now, I'm so glad I did, for 2 reasons. Being locked down 3 months later and not being able to leave the house meant I actually had some connections, and that was my savior. But it also helped me build some great relationships, but also there's all that stuff. You don't know what you don't know. I mean, we so many of us come into this, and forgive me for casting aspersions out there, but this was definitely me. This naive passion. I'm going to do this thing that I really want to do. I've got no idea how to, but it'll all be okay. And I think underneath we know that there's a load of stuff we've got to work out, but we don't know what we don't know. I don't think we ever really know how tough it can feel. And I started probably getting out and networking in real life at that point. Back in the October, I had the flexibility within the work that I did to be able to do that. I built some really good connections before I came into this world. So, and I would advise anybody to do that. Yes, ensure you've got some money in the bank for your own financial mindset, as well as literally stability. Second of all, if you do not have connections in the entrepreneurial world, then start to build some, because the only people that understand what you're going through are the people that are going through it as well.
And can help support
that is
you.
Every other business owner, by the way, you just got to find your people.
Yeah, that's right. And so you've met some in person, and then did you find some online as well?
Yeah. So as was the case back in the 2019s. We did everything in person. I absolutely started with in-person networking, and January, February, even to the early March of 2020, I went to in-person networking. So very much in the local vicinity. Then, of course, the online world took over, which was a blessing and a curse. And it's been a more of a blessing to my business than a curse, although it has its downsides. But I threw myself into online networking, which then also became my way of kind of connecting with a bigger audience than just my local community. So, and that's where, you know, I'd say blessing. And some of those people I met in those first 6 months are absolutely still in my world now. Some of them are my closest friends. And I've still got my friends from my corporate world. I've still got some great connections, but absolutely there are, I'm literally, I've got 3 people I could name straight away. I won't name them for their purpose, who are still in my world now, and they are, you know, 3 of my best friends. And I met them all through networking and starting my business.
So what's so wonderful in this is, you know, you're blowing up the notion of build the parachute on the way down. And I am with you. I want to smash that to bits and pieces. You do it the way that is right for you. And, you know, if you are a comfortable risk taker, then maybe that is the approach. But there's also nothing wrong to build a safety net and take a bit of time. And this is where I'm kind of settling into now, because I'm still working full time, and I'm like, oh, I just want to get there. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? It will be worth it. It will be worth it, and it will take the time it takes as long as it happens.
Yes.
So, you know, that can remove a lot of the pressure that we feel, or the actual, you know, financial necessity piece being there, where you're putting yourself in a real fire that may not actually be suited to what you can handle. It's not for everybody to just jump into the deep end.
We are, look, I'll come back to it. Let's use social media because it's the main medium, isn't it? And, you know, blessing or curse. It's great to see hugely inspirational people out there doing their thing. And I absolutely stand by anyone that's out there doing what you want to do. They're just a great example that you could do. They're just normal people. They just took an action. They just did a thing. Yes. But everybody's situation is different. And so anybody that is thinking about this, and I want to say, I'm going to say fortunate, not lucky, because I think lucky believes you don't deserve it. Fortunate in that we had worked hard to be in the position we were in, but we worked out what we needed financially. You know, there was no just you know, just go for it, just leave. No, you know, we still had bills and responsibilities. Yes. And so we absolutely worked out what we needed. We also had, and truth be told, a bit of a look, you know, actually, how long will we be okay for if I don't earn anything? Because, you know, you have to have that sense of reality. You can, you know, people
positive vibe all the way to the gold
and that is great. But do you know what? Positive vibes don't get the business in. They're only one part of the equation. Absolutely. And it's not build it and they will come. Okay. Well, it might be, but it will take time. And this is the bit where, you know, everything we see can be so wonderfully inspirational. We can learn huge amounts, but we can also get a very, very rose-tinted picture that might not be the whole truth. And that, you know, so look, when I left my corporate role, I had 2 paying clients, and I got my next paying client 2 months later. Okay, so it's 4 months before I got the next paying clients, and then, you know, and here I am now. People are going, oh my God, you're doing so brilliantly, and I'm doing really well, and I'm really proud of where I am. But I'm 3 years down the line, and my coach, you know, my coach often talks to me about consistency, and she says, you know, when she uses me as an example to other people, she says, Shelley, how long have you been consistent for? Let me be clear how long I've been consistent for. 3 years. Okay, or about 2 years, 9 months, I would say, when I realized that consistency was the key. And here I am 2 years, 9 months later of consistency, and it's paying off, you know, and the last year has been incredible for me, but it took me 2 years to get to this year. So yeah, you've got to be in it for the long haul. And I'm, you know, there are many overnight successes out there that might not have been quite overnight. Might have been a, you know, few weeks, months, maybe even a few years.
They're the tip of the iceberg.
Do what is right for you. You've got to make the decisions that's right for you in your situation.
And so were you looking to replace your income, or were you looking just to serve from a place of deeper meaning and let the money be separate? You know, and like, did you have to shift your lifestyle? Like, Because you were making good money in corporate.
I was
right?
making, I was making really good money. That's not a bragging statement. That is, I've been
No,
25 years of my career. I had built my career and I got to a very good level.
Yes.
It's a brilliant question you asked there, and I guess I've got a kind of two-pronged answer. I'll come back to that fortunate word. So when I left my corporate role, we'd also done the maths. We could live on my husband's salary. Okay. So the pressure was not. So I wasn't under a pressure to achieve a number. But I was putting pressure on because I had really clear goals. So absolutely, like most of us that come out of the corporate world, my goal was to reach and exceed my corporate number. Now I had to remind myself in year one, it took me 25 years to get to that corporate number. Right. And there was I giving myself a hard time in year one. So that's the first thing. And I say that to my clients now. Second of all, as I've already mentioned, actually my husband was made redundant 7 months into me starting the business. So that kind of safety blanket that we had of it's okay, we can live on my husband's wage was suddenly ripped apart. And there's a whole backstory to that, and I won't go down that route. He got a job that was then sadly that didn't work out, and so we bounced in and out of our situation. Right. Now we'd made sensible decisions at the beginning. We had money in the bank, but to your actual question, my internal goal, internal driver, independent Shelley, she'd worked really hard to get where she was, wanted to prove a lot to the world, absolutely wanted to hit and surpass my corporate income. The other part of me, and I'm a Gemini too, so they often talk about the two sides, but equally I was getting to do that, doing something I really, really loved. And so look, I love the work I do, but I don't do it for free. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Maybe one day I will be in a position where I will be able to absolutely do more. I do some free stuff, but be able to do more free work. Have a pro bono portfolio. But I do get paid for what I do, and I want to get paid for, for what I do. And I still have financial goals, and they now surpass, I've got much bigger financial goals than I had previously. So to answer the question, I'd love to sit here and say, no, it's all about the serving. What I believe is how fortunate am I that I get to do work that fills my soul, and I get to be paid accordingly for it, and therefore have the life, because that's the other piece. We're really clear about the life we want to live. We've got very clear goals as a couple, and I've got very clear goals as an individual. We've lost 2 parents already. We have no intention of working until we are in our 60s, 70s and not enjoying life. So there is, we're allowed to have, to anybody out there, you are allowed to have reasons that you're doing this for you as well. It doesn't have to be, this is my purpose in life and I would do it even without money. Don't feel guilty if you don't have that being. Even if you think it's your purpose, you're still allowed to get paid for it. Absolutely.
And so then how do you decide what to charge?
That's $64,000 question, if you'll pardon the pun. There is no right checks in the mail to this.
For like 10 years from now.
Do you know what? This question, I work on this with so many of my clients. I work on it for myself as well. There is no right and wrong answer to this, and I don't think there is. My belief is that no one can tell you the answer to this. Okay, so here's how I approach it. First of all, and if I think about where I started versus where I am now, when I started, I charged what I had the guts to say out loud. And that sounds really, I remember kind of picking a number, bit finger in the air. It wasn't quite like that. There was a little bit of maths behind it. But essentially, I'd never had, apart from asking for the odd pay rise, I'd never had to put a number out there and ask someone to pay me directly for my services. And so my starting point was, this feels like a reasonable number, and I'm not choking saying it, because I need to build my confidence selling. I need to build my confidence saying a number, putting out there that this is what it's going to cost to work with me. And hindsight's a wonderful thing. I might, if I were going back, would I do it slightly differently? I'd like to think I would, but I also know that a huge part of that comes about confidence and all the feels, imposters, all the stuff, all the mindset. You start like, again, when we're walking babies, we're babies learning to walk as newbie entrepreneurs. Absolutely. So you just practice. I think that first person that you say that to, the first person that hands over money to you, wherever your business is, whether it's a product or a service, it's a really big step in your journey. And so that's where I started. And there was a little bit of science to it. I did sit and think about, it's not just about, I coach, okay, so like every coach, you start by coaching and charging by the hour, and it wasn't just about the hour of coaching, and there was some work behind that. Then, and this was probably about 6 to 8 months in, and probably at the point that, if I think about it, the financial pressure, inverted commas, shifted a little bit because my husband, there was a bit about, okay, you know, I've got these financial goals. Well, you know, what I'm charging now, I'm never going to get to those financial goals. There aren't enough hours in a day to get to my financial goals. Now, that didn't mean overnight I switched my pricing and went, boom, here you go.
Yeah, use your pricing.
But it meant, hey, if that's what I'm working towards, I need to start to think about, actually, there is going to be some shifting in pricing. And actually, I knew at this point, so I did more and more market research. I felt more and more confident in myself. I knew that I was at the lower end of the pricing bracket for what I was doing. And my clients' results were, you know, were speaking for themselves, and people were starting to talk about me. So that built my confidence to be able to start to shift my pricing. So if you kind of fast forward to where I am now, when people ask me about pricing, I think there are a number of factors. The first is, and these aren't in any particular order, I still believe you have to feel a level of comfort with the price. If you're not in alignment with the price you're charging, then no one's going to pay it because it's going to come across. And that can be money mindset stuff. So that doesn't mean that what you're charging isn't right. It could be your own money mindset stuff. So that's the first piece.
The separation of
absolutely
meaning of you to money.
Yeah. And the second piece is about being really clear about what it is you're offering and the difference that makes to someone, and being able to then align that with the input that requires from you. You know, you are allowed to sit and think about, actually, how much of my time is this? How much of my experience is this? And assign value to that. To your point, that is not about you are a value. That's assigning a value to the work you're doing, the value you bring. But here's the bit I always say: whatever you do, you're not going to get it right. And the reason I say that is value is subjective to the eye of the beholder, so to speak. So my coach used to use this brilliant example, and I'm going to happily share hers. She said, you can go on Amazon and you can buy a skipping rope for £1.50 or for £1,500.
Right.
Now you tell me what you think is expensive, and let me go and talk to that Olympic skipper. Right. Because I think that he would say he would rather spend, I don't know who the Olympic skipper is, but you get my point, to somebody, you know, we've all got our own view of what is good value, of what is expensive, of what is cheap. I have at once in my last 3 years, I've been called cheap, and I've had someone say I can't afford you in the same week. The point is, that's not about me. That's not about the price. That's about that person's resources and that person's situation in that moment. So anybody that's kind of tearing their hair, I don't know how to price it. Even if you just pick a number out of the air, it's a starting point. Because if people are falling over themselves to pay for it, there's probably an opportunity to put it up. If everybody is telling you that it's overpriced, then your messaging is off or the price is out. But just start somewhere, because the price will never be right for everybody. You want to get the price right for the people you want to work with.
And for what you feel aligned with.
Absolutely.
Right. So are you a luxury brand? Are you available for everybody? Like for me, I'm a startup coach. I am obsessed with women who aren't in, you know, over $200,000 yet. And I want them to have access to things that you typically can't access until later. So I price with a fair exchange for my time and the quality of the content and the results it gives, like you said, and also in an accessible way that's not going to have them choke. And so what you just described, Shelley, puts in mind to me like the retail industry. And so ladies listening, really hear this. Are the dollar stores going out of business? No. Is Gucci and Saks and Tiffany's going out of business? No. And I don't know who's more expensive than that because I'm not there yet. I just want to show that difference. And there are clients for you in that price. And you can start, you know, not to discredit, but you can start at the dollar store and grow to Tiffany's or Chanel. It's probably more expensive.
Absolutely can. And you know what? If you want to, you can. I wouldn't necessarily advise it, but I know some people, they've managed to do this brilliantly. You can have something for both. That's the point. It's about actually you deciding who you want to serve in a particular offer. And this is the other piece, and I'm going to go off a little bit, but it relates to price. Yeah. You know, we have lots, you know, got a niche, you've got a niche, you've got a niche, you've got to know your niche. And people get really, in my view, should be really clear about this is my view, and this was a bit of a light bulb for me. People get really caught up in that their niche is their avatar, and I'm only allowed one avatar. Like my ideal client is my niche. know your niche or your ideal client is the ideal client for the offer that you've got. You can have two different offers that serve two different people. Beautiful. And therefore two different. And so again, there is lots of work behind the question of pricing. But I guess the number one takeaway for anybody listening is, in the kindest way possible, stop ruminating over it and going round and round in circles, and actually just kind of think really logically, who do you want to serve? Where are they at? And what is it you've got for them? And apply trust. I almost say trust yourself, because you probably know what feels like the right answer right now. It's just that we get in other people's pockets. We decide for them, and that's actually the challenge here. We've got to stop deciding for other people and let them decide for themselves. Let them decide for themselves.
Absolutely. So do you have different priced products? Do you have different streams of revenue? Or are you all direct facing?
Yeah. So it's
structured.
Well, that was a big shift for me in kind of the second year of business. So as part of that, actually I've got financial goals, because I've got a life that I want to live, and I've got things we want to achieve. And actually I love one-to-one work. A lot of coaches work one-to-one with people. I absolutely love it. But there are only so many hours in the day. One-to-one work is intensive. And to your point, I don't have a desire to start charging people 20 grand to work with me one-to-one. That's not the people I want to be for. I want to be accessible to a point to. So yes, I do. So what I did in my second year of business was work with a coach to create almost my product ladder. So actually there were, we over here in the UK, we have a lot of supermarkets have like your good, better, best range, if you like.
Okay. Yes.
So I'm not saying that the lower price offer isn't good, but it's right for the people at that price. Yes. So so I'm just about to launch kind of my most accessible way to work with me. I have then my midpoint, which is kind of with group element to it, and then at the top of my tree is one-to-one work, and that enables different. And there's free ways to kind of get in my world too, but that enables people at different stages of their journey to be able to access a little bit of what I do, and perhaps even give themselves the where they're aiming to get to next, so that they can access the next part. So that was a big part of my business evolution, certainly through year 2.
That's really brilliant, because here you're reaching those target niches, if we even call them that. But you're making, what's more important than that is you're giving opportunity for your work to get out into the world, for different people to access it, because what you have is needed in, we could even just call it in 3 different categories. So that is the external service. And then the return on that is you being able to build longevity in your business with a potential client. So they start here and then they stay and grow with you, and you get to nurture them and see them expand and unfold and become more powerful, which is the juice of what and why you do what you do, and give them a place to go.
And the beauty of that is, I've got, so if I start to look up, I know you can't see that if you're listening, but I'm looking at, because I have a wall behind where we are, which has some clients on it. And actually what I've got is really great lifetime value clients. And what I mean by that is people that have worked with me for a period of time, and they're able to move through different product offerings as is right for them at any moment in time, which, when you're building a business as well, makes marketing very, very easy, because I don't need to market to people that already know what they can get from Shelley, and they might not need they might not need to be in one-to-one coaching with me for 2 years. They might want to dip out of one-to-one and go into a different way and then come back into it. And so gradually, and again, this is over a 3-year period that I've built to this, and I'm about to launch the entry point. So I actually had a client say to me, and my prices had gone up, and she said, "You're moving faster than I am at the moment, so you're just a little bit out of reach." Well, actually this enabled her to stay in my world and get a little of what she needs, which can help her grow to where she wants to get if she wants to come back into one-to-one. And look, I love seeing people fly the nest and go off and do their thing, but the work that I do, mindset work, is never ending. I work on my mindset constantly, and so many of my clients stay with me for a longer period of time, and this gives them different ways to interact in my world too. So it works for them as much as it does for me.
And I've been with coaches who I see are expanding as I'm in their space. And oh my God, it is so magnetic. Like for me, I don't want to leave them, because even if they are going faster, like what's coming out, it draws me in even more than how I initially met them.
My coach
and then,
it
you can't help but be swept up in your own progress as a result of that. Like if we were training with Olympians, we'd be better athletes because we're being
Absolutely.
surrounded by better
Yeah.
athletes. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it does
completely agree with that. My coach was
elevate.
exactly the same. Watching what she was achieving, like, you know, you're 4 steps ahead of me. I want to stay on this path with you and watch and learn as you go. Exactly the same. Totally agree.
So how have you established your online presence? Where have you found clients? Like, did you just start with a brand new Instagram account and putting posts out? Like, how are you putting your signal out into the
So as we now know, I built my business essentially during the pandemic. So online presence was really important, and I worked that out quite quickly. So I did. Instagram is a big traffic driver for me. I have built a lot of my business through Instagram, and that's where I talk about that consistency. I kind of, and again, tips for anybody. I picked one platform and just decided to go for one platform, master that, and build my presence there. And Instagram, picked it because I liked it as much as anything. Okay, I'd come from corporate. LinkedIn was for me subconsciously attached to the corporate world. Facebook's it's easy to use, and I've got a wonderful Facebook group community, but I just like the positive vibe of Instagram. So that became my I learned to master it. I have been very consistent there, and I built a really big following on, and I say big, big in my context. I've got a really engaged following there, and that feeds into other ways then to find out more about me. So that would be my tip to anybody. Just there's so much out there, and people anybody be on TikTok. You need to be on TikTok. You need to be on Pinterest. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be on Facebook. You do not need to be on everything. Choose one, master that, and then look at how you can use that content if you really feel like another market is right for you. But also think about where your people are. So I very quickly started to connect with small business owners, and because of my corporate background, they were quite drawn into this business experience I had. Small business owners were on Instagram. If I wanted to go for corporate women, I'd be on LinkedIn. And so, think about where your people are too. But yeah, choose one and master that would be my tip. So don't put so much pressure on yourself to do everything for everyone right now, all at once. It's just
simplicity.
Crazy.
You're a startup, right? Like we can't operate like a global multi-billion company when we're not there yet. They grow into that and have a team of experts to support them. And because you are the CEO and the VA and the tech and the graphic designer and the payroll and the keep it so simple for yourself, but do it in a way that your business is going to serve 100%. You, right? And that simplicity is one of the easiest things you can do at the beginning. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Super.
I'd say at the beginning, in the middle, and keep going with the simplicity, because actually the bigger you get, the more the danger zone of getting complex is. So always bring yourself back to just keep this simple. The simpler, and it's not about ease, although ease is fine, by the way. I think it just we tend to think that we're not allowed. It's not allowed to be easy. It is, but simpler is better for you and your clients.
Totally being accessible and just continuing to show up as you. Not overcomplicated.
100%.
Wonderful. So now what's next for you? It sounds like you've got the momentum in, you've got the clients now, revenue is growing, presumably.
Yes,
you're paying yourself. Are you paying yourself?
I am paying myself. I've been paying myself for 2 years. So it's one of the very first things that I worked to. I'd have liked to done it from the beginning, there's no income, but actually the minute that I started to get some stability in income, even though it was small, I started paying myself. And I think that's really important. As soon as you can, work with an accountant and work out what it is, but pay yourself, because the message that sends to you is so, so important.
Yes, like an account separate, $5, $20 as it goes. And put it in there. Again, to what you just said about building these good habits, the simplicity in delivering the service and the simplicity in doing the back end and starting to habituate that it is a business and you are, earning your own wages in it. And the sooner you establish that pathway, the easier it will be to maintain and to extract out of the overall income.
Absolutely. When we talk about, look, I'm all about mindset. You've mentioned the word self-worth. You would not have somebody else come in and expect them to work for free. So why should you? You know, you deserve to give yourself, however small it is, you deserve to give yourself a salary for what you're doing. And I think that's really important, self-messaging. So yeah, I absolutely pay myself. And yeah, look, I don't, and even now, even though my business has grown significantly, I have limited business, so I don't pay a huge salary, but then I have real clear goals about the dividend I'd like to pull out and what that dividend is for. So again, I'm always, you know, I'm allowing myself to set goals, stroke rewards, if you like. You know, if I work this hard and get to that number, I get to pull that out, and this is what I get to do for us in our lives. So yeah, that's
very good.
And your question, I think, was what's next?
What's next? Yeah.
What's next? So
which Shelley and I know, but now we're going to get to some juicy stuff for our listeners here.
So
very
we're
exciting.
in a really exciting place. So my husband has been offered an incredible opportunity. We're here in the UK at the moment. My husband's been offered an opportunity in Dubai, and he is moving out there very, very shortly to take up that opportunity, and I will be following him. So something we've always wanted to do, it's part of our bigger goals piece. We've always wanted to live internationally. My husband is still in the corporate employed world. So we've talked kind of, the pandemic has helped with some of this, not with every part of it, but building a business in the pandemic 95% online certainly meant we could open up ourselves to opportunities much quicker than perhaps if I hadn't. So yeah, we are moving from the UK across to Dubai. I will be moving towards the back end of the summer, and I've built a business model that essentially I can lift and take with me. Now, you know, like anything, there's a little bit of work that goes on in the background. I know we see it all over Instagram that you can just sit on the beach with your laptop. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I do have a business model that I can run from anywhere in the world. I'm just working through the logistics of that for my existing client base. I do have a time zone difference to factor in. So we're just working through the practicalities of that, but he moves in literally 2-3 weeks. I will be moving in the next 5-6 months, and we will be starting the next stage of our adventure, ticking another box on the list of international living, and my business will continue to grow, she says with her fingers crossed, as it is. So part of my model, part of the services I'm building enable me to move and, you know, be able to transition very, very slickly. You know, I've got my one-to-one base. I run a group program that is about to come to an end in its current cohort, and will pause until I've moved, and I'll pick that back up. And as I say, I'm introducing that an additional way to work, which is essentially a membership model, which enables, you know, a number of people to come into the world too. So yeah, it's everything that I've been doing for kind of the last 18 months has been with one eye on the ability to move my business model fairly seamlessly. But I would always caveat with, look, you know, I know it always looks really easy on Instagram. You don't know what you don't know. And that is exactly the part we're in at the moment, which is why my husband is moving before me, because actually there are some practicalities to work through, and we're just doing that. So he will go across and start to set up out there, and I will be working everything out to move across. And I'll, you know, go visit, because I do have the ability to be flexible. And it's, you know, I am fully in my business. I manage my time, so I can flex in and out and travel across for some visits. But yes, I will be moving the business across with me in the next 6 months.
And I'll be watching to see how that goes.
Thank you.
You know, I'm so excited. And when you move spaces, you come into new energy and new inspirations and different things. And so you don't know what is actually next. And it's, you know, I pray for you that it's better than you imagined, and that it's another anchor in towards this real intentional approach to life. And then also, as a systems nerd, I just find it super interesting as to, is the portable lifestyle really portable? You know?
And do you know what? I mean, like I say, we see this kind of, don't have the right word for it. We see it across social media, don't we? You can run your business from anywhere in the world. And look, you know, to a point, I certainly can, but I've got to be really clear, to a point. There are things that won't move just totally seamlessly. I've got to make some shifts and changes. And the first and foremost, I'm working with all of my clients on, like, you know, is this doable from a time zone perspective? You know, there's no point in doing this if I'm working till 11 o'clock at night, because I'm on a 3-hour time difference with the UK. So that's the first piece. But she says, with her fingers crossed, we're really sure that we can absolutely make this work. And you know what? Doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You know, we'll deal with that if we need to.
You'll pivot.
We'll pivot. You don't know what you don't know, but you won't know anything if you don't give it a go. So we're going to go with the give it a go. So yeah, it's exciting times.
it's all lessons to learn and to see, what else can be done.
Yeah.
Right. So that curiosity that you mentioned, just bringing that with you everywhere.
Yeah.
And hoping for the best, but also planning for the best. So having this crossover plan is really smart, because you'll have so much more information to assess the business if it needs in the transition.
And you know what, I was working on some emails for my audience this morning, and one of the things I was thinking about is there's almost an opportunity here to kind of go, if I was starting again, knowing what I know now, there's a part of what I will be doing is going back out there, going out there and building a new network and connecting with new people. And actually, I take myself all the way back. I've got lots of learnings and experience under my belt now. If I take myself back 3 years and think about how I approached that, what can I learn from that, and also what can I do differently, if anything. So this is a great opportunity, and it did get me thinking about a bit to this conversation. If I went back to the beginning now, knowing what I know, would I do anything differently? Of course I would, because now I know another stuff. And look, there can be power in the naivety, and there can be power in the knowledge. So take the power out of both and let go of the bits that you don't want to hold on to. And that's kind of what I will be doing.
And have fun with it, because now you've got the online, this you guys can't see me, but I'm pointing towards the computer. I live in this it's so funny, I am so much on the online space that when I did a client consult in person, I was like sweating buckets. You want to meet me in person? What? Can we just meet in Zoom? Like, we live 15 kilometers apart.
Absolutely hear you, and forget that actually, a bit like this, I very much talk with my hands, as you can see me, but your listeners can't. Yet sometimes you forget that actually, there's a whole world out there that doesn't know what I'm doing right now. So I hear you, and I've had definitely, and still feel a little bit of that actually, which will be again, part of going into a new country. And we are now 2 years since the pandemic. There will be I'm going to have to go into a room of people I don't know. That's a lot scarier in real life than it is on a computer. So I will navigate those challenges and push myself
and grow. Like, I see it as an expansion now at Shelley Bosworth Coaching, the Dubai vision.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Thank you.
Beautiful. Wonderful. So we can follow you on Instagram. We can follow you on your website.
You can. I am so easy to find at Shelley Bosworth Coaching. I like to keep it nice and simple for everybody. As I said, Instagram is my favorite place to hang out. And certainly, if you are looking for a metaphorical kick up the backside on a daily basis, I'm your woman. Come follow me over there.
Brilliant.
And Shelley Bosworth Coaching, the website. Come and check me out to find out more.
And your new membership program will be posted there shortly. So maybe we can put that in the show
notes. It will be.
I'll
give you a teaser now. So it's called the Courageous Me Collective, coming soon. So keep an eye out.
Okay, brilliant. We will. Well, Shelley, this has been just delightful. I look forward to, like I said, seeing what comes next for you. And I'm just grateful to have spent this time with you. Thanks for coming into my world.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.